Our 10th anniversary dinner was supposed to be intimate, just close friends, laughter, and a few stories from the past. Instead, it turned into the night I realized the woman sitting across from me wasn't the same person I married. The restaurant was softly lit, jazz humming in the background, wine glasses reflecting candlelight. Emma sat at the head of the long wooden table, her dress shimmering silver under the lights. Her friends, mostly from her office, had already gone through half a bottle of champagne and were in the kind of mood that makes people bold. As the waiter poured another round, Emma stood up, glass raised high. "To my husband," she began with a tipsy grin, "for surviving 10 years with me. But," she paused dramatically, "from today onward we're doing things differently." Her friends leaned in, laughing already. "New rules," she continued. "Rule number 1. I get to travel solo whenever I want. No questions asked. Rule number 2. No checking my phone or asking where I am. Trust is everything, right?" The table erupted in laughter. Someone shouted, "You tell him, girl." Another added, "That's how you keep a man trained." I sat there smiling faintly, though my stomach was turning. She was enjoying this, mocking the boundaries I'd begged her to respect after her last work trip. Ended with too many unexplained nights. My friends looked uncomfortable. Hers didn't notice. They thought it was a joke. Emma raised her glass again. And finally, rule number 3. I decide when we're romantic. No more random hugs or needy moments. Okay? She winked at her friends. Gotta keep a man hungry. The laughter this time was louder, echoing across the restaurant. I could feel the waiter hesitate nearby, unsure whether to approach. I could have stayed silent like before, swallowed my pride like she'd taught me to. But something inside me snapped. Not in anger, just clarity. I stood slowly, taking my own glass. "To my wife," I said, my voice calm but carrying across the room, "for reminding me that loyalty isn't about control, and love isn't supposed to humiliate. I appreciate your new rules." I paused, letting the tension rise. "But I've decided to make one of my own." Emma's smile faltered. "What's that supposed to mean?" "My rule is simple," I said, locking eyes with her. "If you want freedom, you can have it. Just not as my wife." The laughter died instantly. Forks stopped midair. Emma's hand trembled, the confident smirk dissolving into confusion. I took a sip of champagne and added, "Happy anniversary." The silence that followed my words was deafening. The laughter had vanished, replaced by stunned eyes and awkward glances. Emma blinked, as if trying to piece together what she just heard. "You're joking," she said finally, forcing a laugh. "Come on, don't be dramatic, it was just a joke." I finished for her. "You've made a lot of those lately. Every one of them about me." Her friends shifted uncomfortably. One of them whispered something and another coughed, pretending to check her phone. Emma's expression flickered. Annoyance, then panic, then anger. "You're really doing this here? In front of everyone?" "I didn't start this here," I replied quietly. "You did, when you turned our marriage into your performance." She slammed her glass down. "You're overreacting." "Maybe, but I've spent years underreacting." The waiter, bless his courage, approached and asked if we wanted dessert. The absurdity of it all almost made me laugh. I turned to him and said, "No, thank you. Just the check." He nodded and left, clearly grateful to escape the tension. Emma leaned closer, her voice sharp but low. "If you're trying to embarrass me." "I'm not," I cut in. "I'm freeing both of us. You want new rules? You have them. But they come with new consequences." Her friends were frozen, their earlier confidence gone. I could see in their eyes that maybe, just maybe, they'd started to realize who was actually being humiliated tonight. When we got home, the silence stretched like a wound. Emma stormed through the door, heels clicking hard against the floor. "You humiliated me," she snapped. "In front of everyone." "I defended myself," I said, setting my keys on the counter. "Something you haven't let me do in years." She crossed her arms, eyes blazing. "So what now? You think you can just walk away because of a stupid toast?" I looked at her, really looked at her. The woman who used to laugh softly in the mornings, who once slipped love notes into my lunch bag, was gone. What stood before me was someone who thrived on attention, who needed an audience to validate her cruelty. "I'm not walking away," I said quietly. "You already did. I'm just catching up." For the first time, she didn't have a reply. The realization hit her slowly, visible in the way her lips parted, the way her breath caught. I turned, grabbed my jacket, and headed for the door. Behind me, she finally spoke, softly, desperately. "Where are you going?" "To live by my own rule," I said. "One that doesn't include being your punchline." I didn't go far that night, just to a small motel outside town. It wasn't about running away. It was about reclaiming silence. For the first time in years, I slept without tension pressing on my chest. No passive-aggressive sighs, no guilt-tripping texts. Just peace. When I woke up the next morning, my phone was flooded with messages, some from mutual friends, a few from her coworkers. Most said the same thing. "Emma's devastated. You really left." I didn't reply. Let her sit with it. For once, I wasn't going to fix what she broke. By the afternoon, she called. I let it ring out. Then came another text. "We need to talk. I didn't mean it like that last night." A few hours later, another. I was showing off. "I'm sorry. Please come home." But I'd learned something powerful in that silence. Apologies don't erase disrespect, and love without respect is a slow death. I spent the next few days moving my things into a rental. Her calls became more frantic, her tone shifting from arrogance to pleading. By the 5th day, she showed up at my work. Her makeup was smudged, eyes red from crying. "You're really leaving me over one bad night?" she asked. I looked at her calmly. "It wasn't one night, Emma. It was years of small cuts you called jokes. Years of putting me down so your friends would laugh." She shook her head, reaching for my hand. "We can fix this." I pulled away gently. "You can't fix something you kept breaking on purpose." For a moment, she just stood there, realizing that her performance had no audience left. Then she whispered, "I didn't think you'd ever stand up to me." I smiled faintly. "That was the problem. You got too used to me staying seated." A month later, the divorce papers were signed. She tried to play hardball, threatened to make things messy, but her lawyer, apparently the same man who'd laughed at her jokes that night, advised her to settle quietly. Maybe he'd seen a side of her too. I heard later that she stopped hanging out with that crowd. She deleted her social media for a while. Maybe guilt, maybe shame. As for me, I started over, smaller apartment, quieter life, fewer people. But it felt real again. Sometimes I still think about that night. How one toast, one cruel laugh changed everything. But then I remember the moment I said, "If you want freedom, you can have it, just not as my wife." And every time I replay it, I feel nothing but peace.